My background's in accounting. I'm a chartered accountant, and I trained and qualified with a firm in the United Kingdom, spent 9 years in that firm, and whilst we were doing some really neat stuff in the firm, one thing that I observed was that typically accountants are really not good at selling. They don't ask the right sort of questions often enough, and what that means is that they're not identifying what it is that their clients need. And so what we tried to do with Trust was to find a way in which we could systematize the process of asking the right questions, and then by using the web to see if we could leverage that to give the accountants more time, if you will, because one thing that they're also really struggling with is that they're so busy doing their regular work that they simply don't have the time to meet with their clients enough and find out what those clients need. And so when I ask a room full of accountants, how many of you have clients with unmet needs, every single hand goes up. And yet they don't have the time nor the ability in many cases to do anything about it. And so with Trust, what we tried to do was to devise a web-based assessment process so that the client can hop online and answer a series of questions that will identify the needs that they have, and then those needs can be addressed either by the accountant or by bringing in someone else like a financial planner. And so we then showed this to the accountants, and the accountants loved it, but what they said was, we just don't know how we'd cope with all the extra work that came out of it. And so what we did was we thought, well, financial planners don't have the same level of recurring work as accountants do. And so accountants, typically 90% of their work at least is of the regular compliance nature, so it comes in irrespective of what the accountant does every single year. Whereas planners tend to be more on the lookout for new opportunities, both from existing clients and from new clients as well. And so they've really taken to this concept of using an assessment-based process in three key ways. Number one is for every single new client that a financial planner wins. This is a great process to do two things. Firstly, to differentiate you, and so integrating Trust into part of your new client process is a super way to enable you to stand out as doing something different with the clients. But I think more importantly, the second thing there is that it helps you expand the scope of the potential service offerings that you can make to that client. And oftentimes when we meet with a new client, we can get stuck on one thing. But what Trust does, if you have a client go through Trust before you meet with them, is it'll identify a range of issues that you can then review before you meet with the clients. And so you could be talking about 4 or 5 things that are critically important to that client. So that's the first thing with new clients. Secondly, with joint venture arrangements. And so if you're looking to enhance or build joint venture arrangements with other professionals, and so accountants will be a typical example, this is a super way in which you can do that. And let's talk about accountants for a moment. We've already said they're really, really busy. And so if you can take Trust to the accountant and say, look, all you have to do is to ask your clients to go through this process, and then where it's appropriate, you can bring in the financial planner to talk to them about their financial needs. That's a much more palatable process than the accountant investing a lot of time with the client and feeling a little bit uncomfortable about asking those questions themselves. So again, that systematizes that process for you. And then the third thing is with review meetings. And what I often see in financial planning firms is there's a lot of assumptions going on. And so as planners, we assume that we know everything about the client. As the client, we assume that you know everything about us. But the problem is that that's often not the case. And so even with your best clients, your premium A-class clients, what you'll find is that if you invite them to go through this process and say, look, let's stop assuming, let's just make sure that we both got everything covered off here, there will be things that will come out. After all, clients' needs change all the time. And so 3 key ways to use Trust with new clients, to enhance joint venture arrangements, and then thirdly, with your review meetings. So what I find is that there are really 2 key ways in which you can use this process. And I'm thinking more here with new clients. And so let's think about an arrangement you might have with an accountant. Depending on the level of the accountant's comfort in talking about financial planning issues with the clients, the first way would be to have the accountant introduce this process to their client. So essentially you're passing the control to the accountant. Now some of them will like that. They like to be in control of that process. And then once the client's completed the assessment, the accountant can run the report and then sit together with you, and together you can put together an action plan and then go to the client to talk about how you can best help them address those needs that have been uncovered. The second way that works really, really well, and this would be my preferred process if I were doing this as a financial planner, is to almost insist that this is the way that you do things in your firm. And so, in other words, really integrate it into your new client process. And so, as a couple of examples there, if you've got a new client coming into your firm, it's really easy to say to the new client, look, this is the way we do things here. And of course, new clients don't have the baggage that existing clients have. They've never done things any other way with your firm. What also is quite apparent as well, if you think about financial planning clients, oftentimes they don't have prior experience of a financial planning firm. And so when they come to you, it's quite conceivable that this is the first time they've come for advice on financial planning or financial services. And so for you to say to them, this is how it works, it's nothing out of the ordinary to them. And so control that process. Be confident in the way in which you assert this to the client and say, so that we can serve you best, what we need you to do is to invest 30 minutes to go online, go through an assessment, and then we'll pull a report together. Then we'll get back together and talk through how we can best help you with that. And then once the client's on board, of course, continue to integrate it into your systems. And so at your annual review meeting, it becomes the way you do things. And once again, what you'll find is because of the way we've structured trust specifically for Genesis member firms, we have 10 specific templates that you can use here. And so you're not bombarding the client with irrelevant information. And one firm said to me that they found this really, really useful. So if the client is a retiree, and perhaps a couple, maybe with no tax issues, then you simply select that variant of the template so that they're only getting asked questions that are appropriate to them. And with those 10 variant templates that we have specifically for Genesis, I think that gives you a real edge and allows you to customize that process for your existing clients.